Hey, hey, welcome back. Cream City Dreams in the summer. All about the joy, bringing you the joy because we need it, don't you know? My name is Megan Schultz. I'm your host. And today on the podcast, another Milwaukee woman bringing the joy to the city because sometimes joy looks like taking a risk. Sometimes joy looks like stepping outside of the comfort zone. And sometimes joy looks like rocking the mic on the stage. Today, I'm talking with Mary Joy Hickey from Girls Rock MKE. If you've never heard of Girls Rock, you are going to want to pull up a chair, settle in, go for a walk, go for a drive, get comfortable, whatever you need to do to make the time and the space for this conversation, because you are going to want to see these girls rock this summer. And we talk all about that in this week's conversation. So let's dive right in. Today on the podcast, I am delighted to welcome Mary Joy Hickey, the Executive Director of Girls Rock Milwaukee, whose mission is to empower individuals of marginalized identities and diverse experiences through music education and performance. And they live this mission by hosting camps for girls and gender expansive youth and women in some of their ladies' camps, so that these girls and women can learn an instrument and rock out on the stage. And this season, I'm focusing on joy, and really, what could be more joyful than that? And also, you have joy in your name, so I knew I had to get you on the podcast. So welcome, Mary Joy.
Thank you so much for having me, Megan.
Yes. So I've had Girls Rock MKE on my radar for a while now, knowing that I wanted to get you on the show because I love the mission of getting young girls and women and listeners from now on. When I say girls and women, I mean everyone's included in that definition. So the gender expansive categories of girls and women and trans youth and non-binary, all of those are welcome at Girls Rock MKE. So when I say that going forward, that's what I mean. But I just love this idea of getting people excited about music and what music can do. I would like to say that I get out to see live music all the time, but alas, I have 3 small kids who are in all the sports, and that makes evenings and weekends really hard. But I will say that every time I'm at a live show, I am reminded of the power of music to connect us all across our ages, across our political divides and genders, and all the intersections that we are always talking about. Music just brings us together. And, I had the poet Dasha Kelly Hamilton on the show back in season 7. And she talked about how it's the creatives who are going to save us all in this crazy time that we find ourselves in. And I think that's particularly true of musicians because
I love that.
yes, yeah. I just think about the power that songs have, to remind us of our shared humanity, to remind us to reach, through their lyrics and that indescribable feeling. I'm sure you know this as a musician, right? Like, I don't know what the word is. Maybe it is joy. But I'm just wondering, maybe could we just start before we even go into what the organization is and who you are? But like, can you speak to the power of music?
Yeah, absolutely. Music is the universal language, as they
Yes.
say. And I think
Yeah.
there's so many different entry points into music. And so that's something in our programs where we focus on music education. But it's not all just about technical mastery. There's so many different layers and entry points depending on who you are and what is drawing you to music.
Mm.
I think there is, it's about mindsets that can emerge through the experience or interfacing with music, whether that is learning an instrument or collaborating with others to create something original, or listening to a local band and feeling the energy or the lyrics or the sounds moving through your body. There's so many different dimensions to it. And so I think that is a way that if music can be this one thing where everybody can connect into it somehow, it is a unifier that way.
Mm.
So in our
Yes.
camps, you can come and you might be focused on your personal expression. Like you want to take what's inside and bring it out, birth it into the world.
Mm.
Um, and so other people can experience that and get to know you and touch you, and you want to contribute to our shared human experience. That's one way of participating in music. Another way is just wanting to scream on stage as
Yes.
a form of release. And music is it's a physical release.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's so many different examples I could go through there, but I think in terms of the listeners, I might ask, how does music serve you? How do you connect into music most meaningfully?
Mm.
And I hope that in our programs that we serve to meet people where they are in that
Yes.
journey.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I just think of you sort of touched on this, like the universality of the experience that we all have when we're listening to music, right? Like whether we're left or right or black or white or gay or straight, we all have these experiences of love or falling in love or getting our heart broken or grief and loss and jealousy or, all the things that songs, rage right now, maybe rage would be a big one. Like you said, screaming
Right.
on stage, like all of these things that music can just pull that universal thread through us all, regardless of how we approach it or where we're coming to it from. Oh, gosh, I could wax on forever about music and songwriting, but can you give so listeners who might not be familiar with Girls Rock Milwaukee, you sort of touched on it briefly on in terms of a few of the things that people can get out of the camps, but could you talk a little bit more about that brief rundown of the organization?
Absolutely. I would love to. So Girls Rock Milwaukee has two primary programs. Our flagship program is Girls Rock Camp, and that is a week-long summer camp experience for youth ages 8 through 17. And we are gender expansive, meaning that we are inclusive of non-binary and trans individuals in addition to our girls being in our name. And at camp, they are assigned an instrument to learn, and then they are also put into a band. So this is the first unique component of our programs is that it's a collaborative experience.
Mm.
So we scaffold the individual technical learning with a collaborative songwriting process under the guidance of what we call a band coach or a mentor that helps them facilitate the songwriting process and teamwork and collaboration that goes into that. We also then they write their original song. So that's another piece of our program is we do use cover songs perhaps to help get down some instrument basics, but the end product for our campers is, then at the end of that experience, they perform it publicly at a showcase. So this year for our Girls Rock Camp, it's going to be at Vivarium on the Milwaukee's East Side.
Oh,
And
cool.
they'll perform their original songs for their friends and family. And we help facilitate that performance experience as well. Throughout the week, in addition to this music track, which is the primary focus, but we also have a holistic workshop curriculum that helps address the mindsets that go into the music making or bring that camp experience back into their communities. How will our campers keep embracing creativity or the confidence that they gain at camp
Mm.
once they leave camp and go back into their home communities, their school communities? So some workshop topics, they change every year, but they might focus on conflict resolution, not being afraid of failure. We also
Mm.
have fun physical workshops like yoga was one that we had last year. We had an improv comedy workshop. So bringing in different perspectives to help more wholly embody the experience of camp. Um,
Wow.
so that's Girls Rock. We
Yeah.
also then, so we debuted in our first camp was summer of 2013. The After the first camp showcase, which was just this tear-filled, incredible community moment. A lot of the adults in the room were like, well, I wish I could do something like this.
Yeah.
I wish I could start a band, or I wish this was around when I was a kid. And so the thought was like, well, why not? Maybe it should be. So I was one of the co-founders that started working on a Ladies Rock camp, which is our adult camp. So
Love it.
similar format, but it's condensed into more of a creative retreat style that fits adult lives.
Mm.
So you come in and you have a kickoff party on the Thursday night, and then all day Friday and all day Saturday, You get instrument instruction, work with your band, attend workshops. And then on the Sunday, by Sunday night, you have your showcase performance. So it's almost like a boot camp of
Yeah.
sorts, that
Wow.
really pushes our participants to come together quickly, and write this song. And it's really a powerful experience, especially, with adults. We've gone through our lives, and there's so many different reasons, so many different barriers to creating that creative space for ourselves. And so I think that's something that Ladies Rock Camp really serves to fill, is kind of holding space as a creativity incubator, a
Mm.
self-development incubator, where you're in a supportive community, and you can remember what it's like to show up authentically and vulnerably as who you are, and to be cheered on
Yeah. Yes.
endlessly by everyone that's in that space with you.
Yeah. So in both of the camps, people show up maybe never having picked up a guitar or never having picked up a drumstick in their life, and they go from there, start at ground zero.
Correct. Yes. And all of our programs, no music experience is required. Of course, some campers do bring in experience, and that can be a peer learning experience as well. But in our instrument instruction, we segment our learners into different experience levels. And then we also have a big support staff at camp that floats around into our band practice rooms and helps our campers support what they learned in instrument instruction, while also helping them communicate with their other band members. Because you might learn, a riff on guitar and practice it, in your instrument instruction, and then go back into your band practice room and be like, whoa, I have to play this with a bass line now. How does this part fit with that bass line? And so we
Yeah.
help negotiate that space as well. But yeah, we meet our campers where they're at. And again, due to the structure of our programs, we're really about how can we teach you what you need to know to be able to get on stage and perform confidently. So we're not
Mm.
starting in this detailed music theory. We're going to give you basics,
Mm.
and we're going to teach you shortcuts. We're going to make music accessible to you,
Mm.
wherever you're at, whatever needs you have.
Yeah.
However big or small your hands are, or if you need a different size frets on your guitar, we're there to help you get excited about taking the risk of learning something new, and doing that in this vulnerable space with other people, and learning how to
Mm.
express yourself through that, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. And how are the kids for the younger camps? How are they chosen? Is it just first come, first serve on applications, or do you look for people who are interested in specific instruments so you can form enough bands or
Yes, it's a complicated logic puzzle. It's actually one of my favorite parts of planning camp. I was always one of those people that loved those math class logic puzzles. We ask all of our campers what their first and second choice instruments are.
okay.
And we also ask them if they have any special requests. So, do they want to be in a band with their sister or their best friend? And so I try to honor those requests as well. So my goal would be that everyone, gets as close as possible as they can to their first choice instrument. But I do use the second choice instruments to help balance the bands, and also to match the resources that we do provide at camp. I can't have endless drummers, for example, because we
Mhm.
only have a fixed number of drum sets. And so that's really kind of the starting logic for our bands, is how many drum sets do we have? They
Okay.
become the anchors for the band and build out from there.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And the band coaches or the mentors, are they previous kids who've gone on this? Are they all women? Are they all musicians in town? Where do you get those folks?
Yeah, I'm proud to say that a lot of our volunteers are former campers that come back. We do have what we call our ambassador program, which is a team leadership program, for campers that have aged out of our Girls Rock camp, or maybe they have gained enough confidence that they would actually prefer to come back to camp and serve in that leadership role rather than participating as a camper.
Mm.
So we do have a lot of returning volunteers that then perhaps grow into full band coaches over the years. We also draw largely upon the local Milwaukee music scene. for volunteers. And having been around since 2013, we do have a kind of rich pool to draw from as far as people that have come back every year, that have really enjoyed the band coaching experience and want to come back and do that
Mm,
again.
mm.
So last year in 2024, for all of our programs, we had 94 unique volunteers that supported our program. So it's a heavy
Wow.
lift, but it is transformative to be in that space and to help activate the creativity in others and
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there, I don't know, over the year, because I know you've been the executive director for a year now, is that right? A little over a year, maybe?
Correct.
But
Yep.
with the organization for over 10.
Correct. Yes.
Is there a particular, I don't know, a particular story or anecdote that always comes to the forefront as you think about how transformational this has been for a particular participant, for example?
Um, I have many stories about that. There's so many stories that unfold at camp. But one that's coming to mind from Girls Rock Camp last summer is it can be hard on the first or second day as you're starting something new.
Mm,
Um, I think summer camps, serve parents in a way. It's we need our kids to be in care somewhere during the summer while normal work schedules go on. And so there can be some varying levels of familiarity or interest in music sometimes, or perhaps there was a camper might be set on doing a certain instrument, but because of how the band formation logic worked out, they may have not gotten their first choice instrument. And so we can encounter some of that on the first day when we're
mm,
really forming our bands and starting to head into that process. And there can be a lot of things that can come up for campers. And so I think, early Monday of camp, it's kind of almost like mapping energy of the campers of like who is where and who needs what support as we go into this. And so sometimes there's returning campers that know how things work. And then sometimes we have the new people that might be on the outskirts. And how do we get them into the fold and make them feel like they belong in this
mm,
space?
mm,
And by the end of the week, I think the most rewarding arcs are remembering back to who and where the campers were on Monday morning, who they were, and observing the change, the palpable energetic shift that was accomplished through when they broke the threshold of finally leaning in
mm,
and participating and letting the guard down and feeling that they are, in fact, in this brave space and that they can show up as a brave person and that they will be supported and cheered for and loved
mm,
for being who they truly are. I think a lot of our systems and institutions push against authentic expression in order to maintain order, structure, productivity, all the things that make
mhm,
our society go. And we at Girls Rock Camp and Ladies Rock Camp say that we strive to create a different kind of space where you can show up and experiment with who you are and what your voice is and who you want to be. And we are here for it. We want
mm,
to see you because I believe that the deepest like human longing is to feel seen and heard for who you actually are. That's
mm,
my goal at camp. Who are you really? And how can music be a vehicle, be an amplifier for your identity, for your expression, your creative expression? So the biggest victories are the people that are on stage at the showcase that said that they weren't going to do it. They weren't going to be there. They weren't going to learn their instrument. They weren't going to participate in the songwriting process. They weren't going to come back to camp the next day, but they come back and then the unfolding process, and they get up there and they're the ones that are most excited and dancing and smiling on stage.
uh,
That's the magic of the camp week.
oh, I can't even imagine. There must be so many tears of joy in the audience on those performances just to be so proud of those kids and that's so cool.
I have definitely cried many tears at Girls Rock Camp showcases and Ladies Rock Camp showcases.
Yes, yeah. I'm curious, since you have been with the organization for so long, have you noticed a difference generally speaking, in the kids over the 10 years in terms of their, there's so much out right now about kids and how much screen time they get and their inability to take risks or less, less and less. Have you noticed a change over the decade that you've been with them in the kids themselves?
I think it's hard to answer with any kind of accuracy just because I've been in such fluid roles in the organization. For
Mm,
example, as a musician myself, I often volunteered as camp support in the equipment room
mm,
for over several summers. So I'm the one that's, you know, fixing your guitar or your drums and not necessarily in the emotional space with the campers.
okay.
So been in and out of the organization in a lot of different perspectives. So at one of the Girls Rock camps last summer, we had a yoga workshop. And to start out the workshop, the yoga instructor had all of the campers close their eyes and
Mm.
get into their body. And then she asked, how many of you feel anxiety on a daily basis? And I was shocked at the number of hands that went up.
Mm.
It, so many of the hands went up across the room. And then she asked, how many of you feel so much anxiety that you struggle to sleep at night? And there was still so many hands up in the room.
Oh.
And I can't help but think that that is a reflection of where our world is right now. I
Mm.
remember thinking at that time that I was observing a real life data point of the things that we're reading about in the news, about the things that are happening on social media, about just the pace that our
Mm.
world is in and the digitalness of it. And so that's, I think, one of the things I really treasure about the work that we do. It is back into a creative process that is off a screen. You
Mm.
are working with other human beings. You are using a pencil to a paper and you are writing your original thoughts down. And you are using your hands to hit a drum or put your fingers on a fretboard and or scream into a microphone. These are all very offline activities that get you back into your body and get you back to yourself. And so I hope that our camps can be a space to be an antidote to some of the alarming trends that are coming out about our youth in this digital era, as well as specifically for girls too.
Yes, yes, that is so, so needed. Um, I have a confession about Ladies Rock, right? Because I had the Ladies Rock application tab open for about 2 weeks on my computer last fall. And I was like, should I do it? Should I do it? Should I do it? And in the end, I didn't do it. And then I was like, I'm going to do it. And then I went back and it was full. So I missed the March showcase, but I'm curious if I had, and I know there's another one in June. How do you combine? Do you do all that talking with the ladies? I know you said it's a shorter version, it's more retreat style. Do you just dig right into the music, or is there space to have that conversation about, our own self development too, right?
Yes, correct. Ladies Rock Camp is very much about the mindsets that you must address before you can think about music performance.
Mm,
And so the interesting thing about Ladies Rock is that you are meeting people in very different places. All of our campers come in with a lifetime of learning, of things that they've internalized, of patterns that they're living, and they're all coming in for different reasons. Some people
mm,
are coming to meet new people and to make friends. Some people are checking off this bucket list item of like, I want to perform on stage by this certain point in my life. Some
mm,
people used to play music a long time ago, but life, through the directions that life took them, they haven't prioritized it or had space for it. And so there's a lot of emotion, I think, in some of these stories. There's a lot of
yeah.
latent things. There's a lot of material that can come up, and especially when we start talking about the songwriting process and um, how your message is going to come together and what you're saying as a band and what is this about and what do you want to get out of this. So Ladies Rock Camp is a mixture of, it's a music camp, but it gets a little bit more, I don't want to weird anybody out, but it gets a little bit more life coachy
Yeah.
in a way
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
have to have those conversations. And So we do start out every day with a check-in where everyone goes around the room and says where they're at and what's coming up for them. And then we also close the space each day with a check out. And I think through that process, the goal is to create a group or community vulnerability where
Mm,
if you can allow the community to hold some of this, that then we can all see it, observe it, and work through it.
mm.
There is definitely a feeling of transformation that we're trying to catalyze through the process of Ladies Rock. And we have this inside joke at camp all weekend. Ladies Rock is going to change your life. And it really does. A lot of
Yeah.
our campers do report that it has radically changed the direction or the friends or just their own internal experience of how they plan to move forward in their life. And it's brought them clarity through that process. And I think that we, even as adults in our digital era, we do feel isolated. We feel disconnected from that sense of community. And I hope that Ladies Rock can use music and creative expression to bring people back into a space to help co-create the community that their soul has been missing or striving for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. It almost feels like the kids could probably whack it out in a weekend and the women might need a week to really let go of some of the voices or the I don't know. I had an art teacher or an art practitioner on the show, and she was talking about, those art teachers who, like, when you're in first grade, say, "That's not how you draw a house. Let me show you how to draw a house." Or, like these voices that somebody must have said when you were a kid, like, "Oh, you can't sing. Go, you need to be quiet," or "You just mouth it back there," or those things that we just don't allow ourselves, or we lose the bravado as we grow up. And so I can imagine it takes a little bit of coaxing that out of, I mean, granted, I imagine the women who apply are ready for it and are kind of ready to go there quicker, but still, it could be some deep seated. I don't want to throw the word trauma around lightly, but it could be some deep
Mhm.
seated just hurt or pain in there.
Absolutely. We definitely see that come up at camp. At our last Ladies Rock camp, we did have somebody that had a music teacher that told them that they were playing their instrument wrong, and that prevented them from playing that instrument for many years. And so coming to camp, they were ready to move through that. And so our instructor team helped work through that energy. And at the end, they were like, I can play guitar. Yes, absolutely. Because who holds the standard of the right way to do creative expression? And I think
Right.
that that's really at the core of of our programs is there isn't a right way to express your authentic self. The external world does not get to define that for you.
Mm,
Um, my first instrument was drums. So I've played drums for many years, and it's shocking how many times people feel permission to just tell me what I'm doing wrong or how I'm playing wrong, or I'm not playing hard enough, or I'm not playing efficiently enough, or whatever it is. And, you know, it strikes me as so crazy that they feel the authority to define that for you on my personal expression.
right.
There is no right way to play drums. Are you having fun? Are you feeling joy? Are you getting what you need, what you came to music to get? That's the right way.
Yes, yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. That again, just being all inclusive, everybody's experience, everybody what they bring to it, what they want to get out of it, that's up to them. Right. I love that.
Mhm.
I love that. So, okay, let's talk about you a little bit because this is a podcast about Milwaukee women. You grew up in Wisconsin?
I did. I grew up in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, right in the
Okay.
middle of the state.
Yeah. And were you always, you said you played the drums first. Was there something that came next? Were you always a musician, always into music?
I was always drawn to music since I was 3 years old. I remember listening to the Beach Boys and just dancing around my parents, my house, just knowing that I connected with it somehow.
Yeah.
And I was the weird little kid in second grade that was like making mixtapes
Yes.
and, listening to the radio and pretending I was a DJ. So there is this pattern I can trace through childhood of music was always it. It was always there.
Mm.
My grandpa his nickname is Hard Rock, Grandpa Hard Rock. He's the one who first taught me how to play guitar. So I should say that was, I guess, technically my first instrument. He taught me three chords, and that was a foundation that somebody
Mm.
believed that I could learn how to play, and I had the tools to write a song. So I had guitar in the background, and then through school, I learned cello in fourth grade, and then in sixth grade, I was able to play percussion because I had 2 years of orchestra experience. The requirement was 2 years of piano or orchestra, and I played cello. And drums really connected with me. That was the thing I took all the way to high school, where I played in our school band. And I also joined jazz band in eighth grade, and that's where I learned how to play drum set for the first time.
Mm.
So this timeline is just wild to me, running Girls Rock now as an adult, working with 8-year-olds learning how to play drums. And I wasn't in it wasn't until eighth grade that I first had
Yeah.
the opportunity to play drum set. And I'll tell you, I was last chair in jazz band. That was not my gift, I suppose, but I did get to play the Top Gun theme song as my concert song, and that was a rock song. And that really set me off into, oh, I could play rock drums, and I can do this with other people. So my best friend was really into music. She's the person that gave me a Ramones CD and said, "Here, listen to this."
Mm.
And when we were 15, we started our own band, and we were called Nobody's Housewife.
Oh,
And our goal was to play at the high school Battle of the Bands, except that our high school had gotten a new principal, and she decided that she was going to cancel the Battle of the Bands because it didn't bring out the right crowd.
what?
Um, so we were angry because we had been attending the Battle of the Bands every year, and we had this vision, this goal. So we decided we're going to make our own Battle of the Bands happen. So we booked a venue in downtown Stevens Point, and we made it a benefit for the local Boys and Girls Club. And we organized with other musicians that wanted to play Battle of the Bands. We got judges from the local music stores, and it was my 17th birthday. It was on my birthday. We had this Battle of the Bands, and I will never forget that feeling of confidence. I still say it was like the best day of my life. It feels like that origin story moment of like,
Yes.
oh, we did this thing. We pushed back in the face of adversity, and we still made our vision happen. And we did it collectively, working with our community. And it's very much informed my life and my work as a musician. I'm still an artist. Playing in bands is an important part of my practice. It's not, I'm in my late 30s and I'm still playing in punk bands, and I don't care. It's what my soul needs, and I'm still going to do that. And there's this element of creating spaces for other people to transform through music,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that feeling of confidence, of celebration, of people cheering for you, of getting the thing done with your friends, it's just unmatched in life.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was really a big arc of music. Growing up in central Wisconsin in a small city, and I always knew I love Stevens Point dearly. My parents still live there, and I'm so glad I grew up there. But I always knew that I was going to move to the big city. I always knew that. And so Milwaukee, actually, I was drawn to Milwaukee because of the music scene here.
Mm.
And I think it was just an intuitive knowing. I found my a place in the community here to continue to build out those visions and that community work.
I love it. It was written in the stars that you would end up at Girls Rock Milwaukee after that story. Oh my goodness. That is so cool. So now, what can we see you out and about? Do you play at the Cactus Club, or where can we find you in your bands?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I play bass in a band called Sex Scenes, and we are about to go on tour. We are having a record come out on May 8th through the 18th.
Okay.
And then we are playing in Milwaukee on Saturday, May 24th at Cactus Club, actually,
Oh,
with a band called
fun.
Pista Jeans.
Fun, fun. So by the time this comes out, that probably will have passed. But
Yes.
if people keep their eye or their ear to the ground for sex scenes, they can find you on bass?
Yes. And then I also played in a band called Foxface for 10 years. And it was just announced that we're going to be doing a run of reunion shows this fall.
Oh,
So
cool.
we're going to be playing at our record label Dirt Nat Fest, which is going to be at X-Ray Arcade. I believe August 29th,
Okay.
Labor Day weekend. And
Okay.
then we'll be playing two other shows that are yet to be announced, but they will be in early
Okay.
mid-September.
Excellent. Oh, how fun. And if people want to see and check out some of these showcases over the summer, are those open to the public or are those just for parents and friends of the musicians?
Oh, no, those are open to the public. And if you are inspired or curious in any way after listening to this podcast, I highly encourage you to check out one of our showcase experiences. It is the best way to get into the energetic space of camp and to really see the program impact and marvel at what our campers can do in the short period of time. So our Ladies Rock Showcase is going to be Sunday, June 22nd at Radio Milwaukee Studios in Walker's
Mm,
Point. And then we have two sessions of Girls Rock this summer, and both of those showcases are going to be at Vivarium on Milwaukee's east side. The
mm.
dates for those showcases are Sunday, July 20th at noon and Sunday, August 17th at noon.
Okay.
The Ladies Rock Showcase in June, I should note, is in the evening. Doors are at 6:30 and the showcase kicks off at 7 p.m. at that Sunday
Okay.
show.
Wow, those are big venues for
They are
ladies
big
and kids
venues.
to play. Yeah, that's super impressive. So obviously you also have the support of local musicians, Radio Milwaukee. The Vivarium is part of the Pabst group,
Music
right?
group. Yep,
Yeah.
correct.
So
Yes. Our programs would not be possible without the support of our program partners and sponsors. So
yeah.
that's another way that if you want to get connected with the impact of our work, we are always looking for in-kind or financial support as well to make our programs possible.
Yeah. Oh, you hear that, listeners? I'm going to put links to all of the ways that you can support and get out to see these girls and these ladies rock because I know I'm excited to get out there. Uh, Mary Joy, I'm thinking, in this, you talked a little bit about the anxiety last summer that you saw some of the girls raise their hand to. And I feel like we're all kind of feeling that a little bit. And this is a season around joy and women who bring the joy to Milwaukee. And I'm just wondering if you have any advice for listeners around joy, like how to find it, why it's important, how to live into it, just really just any kind of parting thoughts on joy as in terms of what you do and what you bring.
I love this question. So I think joy is an individual experience,
Mm,
knowing what makes you specifically joyful, what brings you joy that might be different from another person. And it's collective in that it's a way that we can come together and be in communal joy.
mm,
So my advice to listeners would be what brings you joy? How do you get to know yourself so that you know what your joy is?
mm,
Dig into that. Might I recommend some form of creation, some form of art that can help draw out what's on the inside that might not always be translatable, might not have words for it, but maybe when you create a painting or journal or draw, or in our case, use music, strum a
mm,
guitar, put some words to some structure to a song, hit some drums, and see what do you learn about yourself and what comes up for you when you're engaging in that process. I think what we have seen and observed in our programs is the act of expressing that inner world and bringing it into the outer world for people to see and and celebrate. And it's transformative. It helps other people unlock. It gives back to the world.
mm.
And your voice, your creative voice, your joy is such an important thread in our collective joy. And we need that out there. People need that so that can help them unlock their joy if they're struggling with that.
Yes. Yeah. It's like almost like the game of telephone with joy or something like it. Like it, you give people permission to be joyful themselves if they see you expressing your joy. I love
Exactly.
that. I
I,
love that.
I love that word permission. I think that's a great way to say it. Give yourself permission to explore what joy means to you and then go do that thing.
Mm, mm, I love that. Is there a woman in Milwaukee that you see who's inspiring you, but that also you see as living joyfully?
Hmm. I look up to Kelsey Kaufman at Cactus Club a lot
Mm,
for the work that she's doing with Cactus Plus. So Cactus Club has been a club that I've played many times over the years, just a storied historical music club in Milwaukee that it's a treasure to have. But rather than being just a music venue, I think Kelsey also sees the power of transforming it into a community space and bringing people together around art and
mm,
not just music, but interdisciplinary artistic practice and what can happen in our city when you can have a space to come together. And so I look at what Cactus Plus is doing, and it's an inspiration for me and how girls rock can evolve in the future and contribute to the city through creating these creative incubators
mm.
with our programs.
I love that. I love women who create spaces for people to gather and to come and collectively practice joy, right? Like you say,
Mhm.
that's awesome. Well, Mary Joy, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I am so looking forward to watching the show this summer. And I have a daughter who is 7 this year, so she can't quite make it. But next year, I'm really going to see if I can get her into this because I'm just hearing your stories of the transformation and that space that is phone free, digital free, just to really create, to be creative, to embrace that. I love it. So I love what you're doing to create the confidence and inspire all kinds of kids in all and ladies in all kinds of joy is just wonderful. So thank you for what you're doing for our city.
Thanks so much for having me. And yes, I would welcome your daughter and you at Ladies Rock Camp. So think about it.
I am seriously going to think about it because it really does sound joyful. Thank you. I am seriously tempted to nab one of the last spots in the Ladies Rock Milwaukee camp this summer. I guess by the time this comes out, I'll either have done it or I won't. But if not 2025, then look out 2026. I'm coming for you. What a cool organization. Man, how many of us women need the opportunity to get up on stage and belt something out? And I will go on record as saying we all do. I took vocal lessons with a woman who's now become a dear friend, Holly Habig. And as part of taking lessons with her, I was able to participate in her showcase with all of her students, which was at the Jazz Gallery Center for the Arts on Center Street in River West. And I don't know, it was a room, maybe 30 or 40 people, mostly friends and family of the people who were in it. Although I said to my my husband and kids that they were not allowed to come because that made me more nervous than doing it in front of a room full of strangers. But singing in front of people on stage, having people look at you, having people clap for you when it's over was just this exhilarating experience and this high that afterwards I just thought, man, if everyone could experience what this feels like, maybe the world would have a lot less anxiety and fear and lack of community and lack of feeling like you belong. Because, boy, when you get that, you just feel it. And it just was so beautiful. And so to think of kids as young as 8, 9, 10, especially young girls and women and non binary kids and trans youth having that feeling when at that age is often the time that we, I don't know, start squashing the confidence of our kids, or when social media comes in and gives them that feeling of, oh, you're not good enough, or you're not pretty enough, or you're not whatever enough. to give kids that confidence, I don't know what could be more important, honestly. And then to do it through this creative expression where you might come in on a Monday not knowing how to play guitar and leave Friday night on a stage. I mean, come on. That is so cool. Too cool. If you have a chance to get to one of their showcases this summer, make your way to the Vivarium, check that new venue out, and see some girls rocking on stage. Go for it. And maybe I'll see you there. And I love Mary Joy's challenge to find what it is that brings you joy individually and then figure out a way to do it collectively. I'm going to be talking about that a lot this summer. What is it that brings you joy? Because in these times that we're living in, boy, do we need to each find and live and share our joy as much as we can. Let people see you living into that joy to give them permission to live it as well. And maybe you can't get to a ladies rock camp yourself this summer, but how can you get on the metaphorical stage? How can you put yourself out there? How can you risk just a little bit? Do something scary, do something that makes you nervous, do something that makes you sweat, and see what happens. I dare you. And if you do, let me know. Hop over to creamcitydreams.com and leave me a message about what you did this summer. You will be proud of yourself. I guarantee. All right. I will be back next week with another Milwaukee woman. Make sure you are subscribed to my newsletter so you don't miss a beat. Until then, Milwaukee, keep on dreaming.